In Boston, the coming season does not carry the crushing weight of championship expectations. Yet for Joe Mazzulla, it may be the most defining challenge of his career. The Celtics of 2025 and 2026 are not the polished powerhouse that stormed through the league only a year ago. They are a team stripped of their franchise centerpiece, without a true anchor in the middle, and lacking the on-ball defensive predators that once suffocated opposing guards. On paper, this may read like a roster in transition, but beneath the surface, it is something else entirely. It is an open laboratory, a season where the formula is not yet written, and where the architect behind the bench has the freedom to re-engineer the identity of one of the NBA's most storied franchises. To understand the magnitude of the moment, you have to look past the absence of Jayson Tatum, or the statistical drop-offs that analysts will highlight. This is the first time since taking over the Celtics that Mazzulla will enter a campaign without a ready-made blueprint for dominance. The year they chased and claimed banner number 18 was guided by overwhelming talent and unmatched depth. Now the equation shifts. Wins will not come by default. Every rotation, every play call, every gamble will carry more weight. This is not simply a test of basketball knowledge, it is a test of adaptability, of the ability to inspire when the margin for error has vanished. Critics often point to the playoff stumbles against Miami in 2023 or New York last season as evidence that Mazzulla's system has cracks. But the truth is, even the most brilliant strategists are forged in failure. Those moments were not the end of the story. They were the rough edges being sharpened for a moment exactly like this. Mazzulla has already proven that he can guide a group through the grueling marathon of a championship run. What he has not yet proven is whether he can turn a team with visible flaws into a dangerous, unpredictable opponent that thrives under adversity. This roster is far from hopeless. Jaylen Brown is still a relentless force. Derek White remains one of the most complete guards in the game. Peyton Pritchard has developed into a fearless scorer. And Sam Hauser has the kind of shooting touch that can shift momentum in an instant. Add Anthony Simons, a scorer with range and creativity, and Boston's perimeter offense could become a nightly storm for opponents. The question is not whether they can score, it is whether they can rebound with authority, protect the rim, and dictate the physical tone inside. Those gaps will be where Mazzulla's tactical creativity is tested most. Without Tatum's steadying presence, the coaching staff will be exposed to situations they have not faced in years. Tatum was not only a scorer, he was a problem solver, a player whose mere presence masked shortcomings in defensive coverage or rebounding lapses. Now every weakness will be visible, every flaw targeted. That is the kind of environment that forces a coach to innovate, to find combinations and schemes that no opponent has prepared for. For Mazzulla, this could be the season where his reputation evolves from a leader of stars to a master of reinvention. The organization has made its stance clear. Brad Stevens publicly backed Mazzulla after extending his contract, stating that they want him in Boston for the long term. That commitment means he can experiment without the specter of job insecurity, and yet no coach with competitive DNA walks into a season content to treat it like a placeholder. The absence of external pressure to win a title does not erase the internal drive to compete at the highest level. Three-point shooting will remain a weapon. Between White, Pritchard, Hauser, and Simons, this group has the potential to be among the most accurate and high-volume perimeter teams in the league. That spacing could open opportunities for players to attack closeouts, cut more aggressively, and create movement that keeps defenses scrambling. If Boston can pair that offensive fluidity with even a modest improvement in rebounding and interior defense, it will be more dangerous than their current reputation suggests. Mazzulla's challenge is as much psychological as it is tactical. He must convince a group of players who know they are not the overwhelming favorite that they can still dictate the terms of battle. He must transform games in January and February into proving grounds where the lessons learned can translate into an April push that surprises the league. The Celtics may not be labeled contenders when the season tips off, but seasons have a way of rewriting. The air in Boston carries a different kind of tension this year, one that is both unsettling and electrifying. Jayson Tatum, the player who has often been the heartbeat of the Celtics offense, is likely to miss the entire 2025 to 2026 season after suffering an Achilles tendon injury. This absence instantly shifts the gravitational center of the team, and all eyes are now turning to Jaylen Brown. The question is not whether Brown can score or defend, because those abilities are beyond doubt, but whether he can redefine his own ceiling and lead an entire franchise through uncharted waters without his co-star beside him. Celtics legend Bob Cousy has voiced his uncertainty, noting that in his view, Brown has not yet reached the same superstar tier as Tatum. His remarks hint at the enormity of the challenge ahead, not as a criticism, but as a recognition of the scale of transformation required. Boston is not simply trying to replace points or minutes, they are navigating a complete shift in identity, adjusting to a season that will demand strategic reinvention from the very first tip-off in October to the final push in April. There is history to suggest resilience. The Celtics posted an 8 and to record in 10 games without Tatum last season, proving they can survive his absence in short bursts. But an entire campaign without him is an entirely different story. This is no longer about spot adjustments or short-term rotations. It is about evolving a game plan over 82 games where every opponent will prepare specifically to target the gaps left behind. That type of pressure does not just test skill, it tests endurance, adaptability, and the capacity to deliver under unrelenting focus from the league's best defenders. Brown's career numbers tell part of the story. Averaging over 20 points per game for 6 consecutive seasons is an achievement few in the league can claim. He has consistently expanded his offensive arsenal, blending power and finesse, and has shown flashes of being the primary engine for the Celtics in high-stakes moments. What makes this season unique is the absence of a safety net. Every defense will tilt toward him. Every scouting report will be designed to limit his comfort zones. His success will hinge not only on scoring, but on orchestrating the offense, elevating teammates, and making the kind of split-second decisions that can alter the momentum of an entire season. The challenge becomes even more complex when considering Boston's roster changes. Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis are no longer in the building, moved in off-season deals that reshaped the depth chart. Veteran leader Al Horford is weighing retirement, while Luke Kornet has signed with the San Antonio Spurs. This is not a sign of weakness, but rather a test of adaptability for a front office and coaching staff that have built a culture around maximizing whatever personnel is available. Joe Mazzulla will now have the opportunity to craft a system where Derek White and Brown share the leadership load, where younger players and new arrivals are given the green light to take bold steps forward, and where the Celtics' trademark offensive identity remains unshaken. The opportunity here is immense. If Brown can elevate his play to a level that forces the league to reevaluate him entirely, it will not only silence any lingering doubt, it will carve his name into the narrative of one of the most storied franchises in sports history. He has the tools, the experience, and the stage. The absence of Tatum may be the very circumstance that unlocks a version of Brown we have yet to witness. For Boston fans, the intrigue lies in watching this transformation unfold. Every game will be a measure of growth, every win a statement that the Celtics remain a force, and every setback a lesson that could pay off when the playoffs arrive. The journey ahead is filled with uncertainty, but uncertainty is often where the most unforgettable stories begin. The city has seen legends rise in moments like this before, and there is a sense that something remarkable could be taking shape. The decision that has just reshaped the Boston Celtics leadership is not simply a matter of title changes or corporate formality. It is a move with deeper strategic meaning and long-term consequences for how the most storied franchise in basketball will be run in the years ahead. What seemed at first like a simple adjustment in the ownership structure is in fact a passing of the torch, one that blends the passion of a lifelong fan with the financial firepower of a record-breaking acquisition. Bill Chisholm is stepping into the role of principal governor of the Boston Celtics, a position that makes him the ultimate decision-maker for the organization. Wyc Grousbeck, who for years was the public face of ownership, will now serve as alternate governor and chief executive officer until the year 2028, after which his official role will end, though his influence may remain. The numbers surrounding this transition are staggering. The sale that brought Chisholm to power was valued at $6.1 billion, the largest transaction ever for an NBA franchise. That figure alone reveals how much belief Chisholm has in the team's present and future. This is not a passive investment. This is the calculated commitment of someone who is both a businessman and a believer, someone who is determined to put his stamp on the Celtics while honoring the traditions that made them a global basketball icon. Makes this shift particularly intriguing is that it was not the original plan. Reports from Shams Charania and Adam Himmelsbach have confirmed that Grousbeck was initially expected to remain principal governor, but the final agreement placed Chisholm directly in that role, aligning authority with majority ownership in it. way that leaves no room for confusion about where the ultimate decisions will come from. This is not about replacing one leader with another out of necessity. It is about giving the person who holds the largest stake in the team the clearest path to implement his vision without unnecessary layers. Even though Grausbeck is no longer at the top of the decision-making hierarchy, his legacy and his presence will remain valuable assets to the franchise. His track record as governor includes bold personnel moves, aggressive spending when championship opportunities emerged, and a willingness to treat the team as a philanthropic mission rather than a profit machine. His commitment was most visible in moments when the Celtics were close to contention, when the ownership group, including Stephen Pagliuca, refused to settle for caution and instead pursued players who could tilt the balance in Boston's favor. That same willingness to invest in talent helped lead the Celtics to the pinnacle of the NBA in the 2023 season. Now the dynamic changes. Instead of being the one giving final approval, Grausbeck becomes an advisor to Chisholm. The two men have already shown a friendly and cooperative relationship, often sitting together at games during the ownership transition process. For the Celtics, this is a rare combination. The franchise gains a fresh leader with personal and financial investment at its peak, while retaining the insight and network of the man who guided the team through a modern era of success. Connection to the Celtics is not fabricated for publicity. A native of Georgetown, Massachusetts, he grew up immersed in the team's culture and history. He is not just stepping into a high-profile role, he is stepping into the culmination of a lifelong passion. During the bidding process, he admitted that he could not even bring himself to watch the HBO Max documentary series Celtics City, out of fear that the team might end up in someone else's hands. That level of emotional investment is rare in modern sports ownership, and it signals a future where business priorities and fan priorities may align more closely than ever. When Chisholm finally secured the franchise, his first celebration plan was simple, yet telling. He would sit down and watch the very documentary he had avoided, now able to do so with the knowledge that the team was his to protect and grow. It is a symbolic act that hints at how personally he takes this responsibility. His first memories of being a Celtics fan go back to childhood birthdays where team-related gifts topped his wish list. Proof that this is not a late-life interest,